All right. It is indeed a very, very good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us this morning's edition of The Tackle. It is the 12th of October 2022. Tarehe 12 mwezi ni wa 10 mwaka 2022. I hope you're doing well. You've woken up and you're ready to tackle your day. The Siasa Wednesday edition of the 12th of October 2022. And it begins right now. Tuko na Mheshimiwa MESHACK ODEDE. Mheshimiwa MESHACK ODEDE, unajua mtu anajua anybody mwambie unajaribu kuomba kiti kidogo hata wewe mheshimiwa. Unajaribu kidogo ODEDE. Tulisikia ulikuwa umejaribu kuomba kitu mahali. Ama ilikuwa fitina.
No, sijaomba kiti.
Tuko pia na KAGWAINI KAIRU is new on the show, is a political strategist, and we'll be having a conversation together this morning about the issues that matters to you. As usual on Siasa Wednesday, we get to analyze the state of the nation, or the state of running of the nation, and also the state of politics in the country, and anything that concerns you as a citizen. So, kama kaida ni join, please like. When you like, we get to know that you're watching us, and after like, please share. When you share, you give someone else an opportunity to watch the broadcast. It's a Tackle Siasa Wednesday edition of the 12th of October 2022. I'm Gerald Bitok and begins right now. Come on, fika tafadhali. Like, when you like, we get to know that you are watching us, and after you like, please share. When you share, you give someone else an opportunity to watch the broadcast. When you join in, please like. When you like, we get to know that you're watching us, and after you like, please share. And you share, you give someone else an opportunity to watch the broadcast. Kama kawaida, tunaenda mbele za Mungu kuomba, alafu tukirudi basi tunakuja kuwapa salamu zenu. Mighty Father, we come before you this morning. We worship you, glorify your name. Thank you for another opportunity to be alive. We even thank you for this program. We thank you for this conversation. We even thank you for the guests. We also thank you for the tacklers. As they join us, may you meet them at their point of individual needs. And even as you have this conversation, may it edify the fabric of this country. For we pray, starting and believing. Amen and amen. Collins Kipchirchir, good morning General Salimia Mushendu. Good morning to you. Asante sana Mushendu kunjiani karibu nafika. Emmanuel Kemba tuned in. Asante Brian Reeves Ciele. Hello, good morning to you. Timmy Brian tuned in from Kisumu. Watu wa Kisumu, mambo vipi? I hope you're doing well. Asante sana. Thank you so much for joining us on this edition of the Tackle at the 12th of October 2022. And the Siasa Wednesday tuko na Mheshimiwa MESHACK ODEDE. Tuko na Gavana Mushendu ambaye kunjiani, na pia tuko na mgeni mpya Kairu. He's going to introduce himself shortly. Timoke E. Some following from Eldoret Kumumu, you are doing a great work, Gerald. Thank you so much, Timoke. It's a pleasure to have you. Let's see who is up on YouTube. Tuone kina nani wameweza kuamka YouTube mapema hii. Diaspora sijui kama ameweza kuraukia mapema. Good morning to you. The guys on YouTube, Samuel Muia watching from Lamu County. Thank you so much, guys, who have joined us from Lamu County. The guys on YouTube, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Also, if you're on YouTube, make sure that you send an invite. Invite someone that you know to subscribe to the channel. We had a challenge that we're going to do 50,000 of subscribers on YouTube. So let's make it happen. Let's keep pushing it up. The biggest question this morning is the country perpetually stuck in the campaign mode? Because the opposition is still there. Wale nasema tuliibiwa, mtajua mjui, wala ambao waliiba, watu wa Amerika waliiba kura. Na pia serikali ni kama haijajua iko ndani ya serikali. So they're still talking about state capture. Wanasema tulipigwa. And the citizens are there watching and wondering, okay, all right, what's the way out? Good morning to you, Kairu.
Good morning, Bitok.
Mambo vipi?
Asante sana for having me here. I appreciate. I'm also asking my followers and everybody on social media to kufuata the tackle.
Okay.
And Mr. Gerald Bitok, so that we grow together. And also I would like to appreciate you for the work you are doing.
Thank you.
Giving young people a space. Not the traditional way of doing things. The new and the innovative way of airing news, etc. Thank you, sana.
Asante sana. Thank you. It's your first time on the tackle. Maybe people would want to know who is this gentleman.
I'm Kairu Harrison, and wanaofanya siasa wananijua. We have been in TNA, in Jubilee. Okay. Na mwisho tumekuwa Azimio tukazimwa. And we thank God tunaendelea. Now we have a new government. We support it. We move forward. Yes.
Right. Lakini kama hamjazimia vizuri. Hata mlisema bunge ni bunge. Sasa mmefungua bunge yenu ya Jivanji.
Sisi especially from Mount Kenya, I'm from Mount Kenya. Kuna vitu that I know, and hata wale wanafuata baba will tell you and avoid such things. For instance, if you saw William Samoei Ruto, the president, at NSC, He was surrounded by people who were, and one of the person is Dennis Waweru, my friend. He was with Ruto at a time, because the time ya siasa imeisha. It's now to get to business. Number two, it is also factual that our economy is doing badly. Because of many other factors, relating and going beyond politics. And we need everybody now to go back to their sector and tufanye siasa, tusifanye zile siasa that we usually do to stop the economy, or rather, and I think last week or sometimes back, there are whispers about global recession. And it is now time we get serious, we mitigate such consequences in case it reaches us. So siasa zimeisha, but as usual, as Adede was telling us, siasa in Africa zinakwanga too toned down and maintained. Lakini hii mambo ya bunge, mass action, mass whatever, hiyo kwanza tuweke kando, tujenge nchi mwa kwanza. Yeah.
Since umeconfess, unasema wewe wa Mlima Kenya ulikuwa ndani ya Azimio.
Yes.
Ilikuwaje? Kwa nini mliambia baba anapanda mlima na kumbe ilikuwa sinema? Mpaka mkabeba viatu. Hivi viatu baba.
You know you're still traumatized from the consequences of what happened.
What is it?
Bado tunaomboleza because you know kuna kitu inaitango legitimacy unatafutanga kuna kichapo unaweza chapo and you say nilirusha ngumi moja, but there is one that you are tied upside down and you have nothing to say. If you look at let's say the election that took place on August, there were technically 6 elections and we won none. At least tungekuwa na wabunge kadhaa, we could have said anyway we tried. But now from president to MCA, we lost everything. So we have no excuse or any explanation. We just accept our fate and move on.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. It's a pleasure to have you. Thank you so much. If you just joined us, please join us when you get to know that you're watching us. And have to please share. When you share, you give someone else an opportunity to watch the broadcast. Asante sana. Mjeni sana kuna ngona ameweza kuamka mapema hapa. Honorable Muturi Anthony, good morning. Gentlemen, this is Honorable Muturi Anthony from Kiamba watching. Asante sana. Karoki wa Masi, good morning. Gerald watching. I'm following from Kayole. Asante Bet Gideon, good morning. Team Taklas, eagerly waiting for the inspiring the Tackle Show. Thank you so much, Bet Gideon. Pleasure to have you. Muzungu Brian Asena, good morning. Bitok tuned in from Nairobi, Kariobangi. Asante Rob Kipto, good morning, gentlemen. Waiting for a candid tackle. Asante Agnes Kimnai, good to see Odede. It's been a while. Yes, Odede alikuwa ameenda kidogo, alikuwa ameenda recess. Recess amerudi. Good morning, tuned in for the candid conversation. Thank you so much. That is the idea. That is my guys on Kilimani. Asante Timoke E. At Eldoret Kimumu. And it's happy to see. What was happening yesterday at Jivanji, Odede?
I was not at Jivanji, but I saw what was happening. Of course, Bunge la Wananchi. Bunge la Wananchi has also been there for a long time, very long. I think Bunge la Wananchi, some of the lobby groups that emanated during the regime of late President Moi, when I think it was seen like better part of the country were agitating for certain changes, and that is where the formation of Bunge la Wananchi happened. And around that time, I think the politicians, members of parliament, were getting a way of gathering with Wananchi out there to push for the reform agendas and all that. So it's a bunge that has been there. But somewhere during the reign of President Kibaki, its meaning was a bit lost because President Kibaki came with a lot of those reforms. And so they were rendered more or less obsolete because there was nothing much to agitate for anymore. The new constitution came again in 2010, which factored in most of the things that Bunge la Wananchi had been agitating for during the 90s and I think late 80s. So right now, they are just hanging in there. So yesterday they invited Baba. I don't know what the big agenda was, but I saw Baba being escorted by our friend, Honorable Babu Owino, and the new member of parliament for Langata, Honorable
Jalash.
Felix, aka Jalash. I think, with all due respect, I think people like Honorable Jalash are still very excited, which is normal. Everybody would be excited, even if it was me. The people, like my friend here says, the people who are hurting most are not the members of parliament on the Azimio ticket. It is the people. Because for the
Mashabik.
Mashabik, exactly. For the other guys, things have moved on and they have their titles and they can now start doing business. But somebody somewhere on the ground feels still things have not, and again, when you see people relate the politics that is in the campaign and what is going on very fast with day-to-day life, because people always believe, in Africa and Kenya included, that the politics of the day has everything to do with what is happening on the ground in a day-to-day and questions that you want answers to. If you go to the shop and you realize sugar is now 30 or 50 shillings more, you would think it has everything to do with the politics. So when you're on the side where we are, and you realize, oh, sugar hata pia imepanda. I knew.
I saw it coming.
I knew this thing was going to happen like this. If only we got it, it would have been different, And then, so I think Bunge la Wananchi are just there, right there, thinking that things are escalating so much, and what can we do? And they are looking around, and they realize Baba is the only man standing, and so let them invite him. He can talk to them, which is his right, and I mean that is how democratized our country has been.
And I think the most interesting thing is the way positions switch so fast. Because a couple of months ago, it was Baba defending government policy and saying, guys, you need to understand the war in Russia and Ukraine, things are tough, so you have to be patient.
Yes.
And the other guys were complaining on behalf of Wananchi, who are the guys who are in government now. The cost of living is bad. Unga mepanda bei. So now the story is different. Baba is back again and saying the cost of living is terrible. And those guys who are in government are now defending.
and it has changed very quickly, because those who are in government now are saying, don't blame Russia, don't blame Ukraine. And they are the ones who are now saying, this thing from Ukraine, Russia is causing all this. And the people who are saying, so, I mean, it changes.
I think there's a lot for Wananchi to learn on that.
Yeah, a lot has to be learned, Gerard. That is the truth. Some people take politics, I would say, too far. Too far means at the point where it is creating bitterness in you, that one is now too far for me. Because the same bitterness, would you have it if your MCA who you elected refuses to perform, if your MP refuses to perform and they are on your side of the political divide? Would you be the same? I mean, if that bitterness would happen, then it would be different. But here, the bitterness, the extreme bitterness only happens to the people on the other side of the divide, which now makes it a bit useless, if you ask me.
And now the big question is, I would want to know from you, Kairu, as well. What are some of the biggest lessons that you've learned through this political season and elections, for that matter? What are some of the things that you'd say, these are my take-homes, is what I've learned?
First of all, I would like to add something on Jivanji, as I'm going to the next topic. First, I think for Baba's choice of Jivanji Gardens, it is considered, or rather he considers Nairobi as his political base. So it was not by default that his first appearance was in Jivanji. Remember the other one was yenye alikuwa ameanguka kwa treadmill. You remember? Then this one, after recovery, he went to Jivanji. Second, I think Odede is missing the point on Jivanji. I think I'm basing my argument on the tone of Baba and his grievances. In 2017, they had the National Resistance Movement or something.
NRA.
Yes.
Led by General Miguna Miguna.
Yes. And Dr. Ndi. But now the people who had conceptualized the use of bunge la wananchi to advance a political agenda are now with the government of the day. So I think that is how Baba looked confused and somehow lost, because the bunge la wananchi of 2017, the way it was structured to push for, even sometimes they were saying they need secession. You remember that? So I think Baba is trying, the hangover for 2017 and how bunge la wananchi operated is what he's aiming at. But I'm not sure, but time will prove me right. Now, my lessons from 2017 is, first of all, whenever you go to a political duel, never underrate your opponent. And then I think it is Machiavelli who says you fool you fool others that they are fooling you, or literally you are fooling them. And that, I think that is what literally William did to Baba and Tinga. He seemed to be very weak, powerless, whereas in real sense he's the guy who had all the cards and all the power. And Baba had false confidence. And in our language we say, kuambiliwa si kupewa. So Baba was assured.
Kupromisiwa.
Yeah, kupromisiwa.
Kusema ndakupea si lazima
kupewa. Baba was assured, and what was delivered, Baba, I think he would have gone, he would rather have gone alone. Yeah, it would have been a bit better. Again, we are all Kenyans. And this is the most important part I think Kenya Kwanza did. They have somehow moved us from our own, the traditional tribal politics. Okay. If you look at the way Kenya Kwanza was structured and the way they ran, the way they have appointed their people, and the way the government is running, is that they gave a platform to the young people, which is a good thing to the youth of the country. Okay. We have so many, our young brothers have been elected all over. And that was, to me, that was a good lesson, that sometimes it is good also to associate with a person who wants or who is moving a generational change. Okay. And I think also that is one of the things that really react in our Azimio campaigns. We moved away from young people, whereas the young people played the critical and the decisive role in the last election.
But Odede is a young man. Why are you trying to say Odede is an old man? Anyway, moving on swiftly. Many people feel that the country has refused to move on both ends. The opposition or the contenders at the 2022 presidential elections, that is Azimio, and also the government in place, Kenya Kwanza, people tend to feel that the country has refused to move from the political mode and the political season. And there seems to be little that's going on. Baba is in Jivanji. He's saying, you guys, you stole our elections. The other day as well, he spoke during the Ngweno's book launch. And he said, Americans, is innocent. So Americans, they came, they stole our election. I mean, there's been a lot of push and pull from the other side. Also, the government seemed to be so stuck in the things that are happening. We saw what was happening last weekend in Wazingishu County during the Thanksgiving ceremony in a church. And all the politicians who spoke, they were speaking about Uhuru, they were speaking about Tuliteswa, they were speaking about this. The Deputy President speaks about Los Andres and all these other things. They seem to be stuck in those days. And the Kenyans are sitting and asking ourselves, at what point are we going to move on both ends? At what point is opposition going to accept that they lost an election and they move on in building the nation? And at what point is the government going to accept that, yes, they have the government now and they need to deliver to the people? We seem to be stuck in that state of election mode. The same way we were stuck from 2017 to 2022. And what's your feeling on it?
I personally don't really think we haven't moved. I think we are moving. The only difference is the expectations of how to move might have been a little bit more because the government is forming. The president is has already named his cabinet, and the nominees are waiting for Parliament to vet them. And up to there is nothing much that can be done as per now, because, again, the president cannot execute so much right now without his cabinet. The cabinet needs to be in place. And so personally, I think there is a bit of moving, but politically, we never really move on. I don't know when we ever moved on. It is always like that. Once we are done with this election, the president begins to organize for the campaigns of the next election, and the opposition begins to organize themselves for the next election. So basically, that's why you see...
You're organizing for 2027 already.
Of course, that's how it is. Right now, including the appointments, it always points to organizing for re-election, including governors. I mean, governors who probably got into the office and are now making the political appointments around the CECs and all that. They are basically organizing themselves for 2027 to be re-elected, especially those who are going for their first term. Probably those who are going for their second term are a bit loose because they are now beginning to check on the space that is available at the national politics, at the national level. So I think we're just moving on our way. We might have been expected to move on like Americans, but we are moving on like Kenyans. We are moving on like Africans. We're just moving on our way of moving on. And one big thing, Gerard, that I must say, once election is over, the person or the team to move the country on is people who form government. You do not expect much of the opposition team to move the country forward. So it is the government, which I think a bit of it the president has tried to do. You see, like his visit to Homa Bay was one of those signs that tries to move the entire country forward. And I believe the visit to Homa Bay was much more of value than what you're talking about, like the Thanksgiving was it in Elgeyo Marakwet?
No, it's in Uasin Gishu.
In Uasin Gishu. So the visit to Homa Bay would make definitely the people who could easily remain behind want to catch up and say, let's just move on. This thing is a done deal, and we are one nation. It's now the government of Kenya. It's no longer the government of Kenya Kwanza. During campaign, we would say the government of Kenya Kwanza would do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But now after election, it is now the government of Kenya, because it doesn't matter where you are. If I step out of this country and I'm asked who is your president, I will proudly mention His Excellency Dr. William Samoei Ruto. So moving on will be a task for government to actually ensure that the country has moved on.
Okay. All right. Muchendu.
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning to you, sir.
Everyone is asking uko wapi? Lala nini?
Sijalala. I think I was joining Gong Road at about some 15 minutes to 7. It is a mess, a total mess up to now. I've been forced to park a vehicle somewhere at a petrol station belonging to a friend, and I hopped into a border that has gotten me here. So it is not by design. Normally, when I leave my house, I normally leave my house at 6:30. It will take me, give and take, 1 hour to get here. So I had left my house exactly at that time. So I think one of the things that we need to do is that we need to know how to divert, because these traffic lights, I think they have caused more jam in Gong Road than it used to be. And I think we need to look at the ideas of upgrading Gong Road with overpasses. Because if you look at the overpass at Langata Road at Bagadhiwe, it has done some good trick. There is no much jam. So I think we may need to look at how we can do some overpasses in Gong Road to ensure that we do not inconvenience. Because it's a gridlock. Everybody is leaving the highway to use the the shortcut, and then they have balkanized that road. Even motorbikes are finding it hard to navigate. But otherwise, I'm
good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you
Been
too.
a while.
Yeah, it's been well.
Pongezi kwanza, naona ulipata kura huko ya governor.
Yes.
Thanks.
We did a good campaign, but majorly when we went to Karen to have a meeting with His Excellency, now the President, then the Deputy President, we were part of the presidential team, and he was very keen on us staying on in Kiambu, considering there was about 1.4 million votes. It was the second biggest basket of votes after Nairobi. So as we were also campaigning for the governor of Kiambu, we were also very keen on ensuring that the votes of His Excellency, the President, are intact. I am proud standing here knowing that, sitting here, not standing, sitting here knowing that Kiambu is the biggest basket that gave votes to His Excellency, the President. And I am a proud person to be a man from Mount Kenya. Because as I told you, we needed to stop the politics of deceit, the politics of looking like you cannot trust anyone from Mount Kenya to keep his word. And today, the UDA party looks more of a Mount Kenya party than it is for the Rift Valley, where His Excellency, the President, comes from. So I think for me is that, as Odede has said, that we are past the election now. The onus is on the sitting government to deliver. And I will tell you that very soon, looking at the economic times that we are having, Kenyans will run out of patience very soon, both for the county governments and for the national government. We must start by ensuring that we are cautioning our people from the hard economic times. Friday, we are expecting that the Energy Regulatory Commission is going to lower the cost of gas. At least that is the expectation. We are looking at how can we caution our farmers from the. You realize that we are now heading at the mid of October. The short rains are not yet coming as they should. So probably the yield we would expect is not going to come that early. So there has to be a lot that needs to be done to ensure that we caution our people. Because as I have said, and I will repeat this again, that when we were seeking government, we knew we may not have known extensively where the economy was, but we knew that this is the kind of economy we are going to find. We are going to find an economy that is 10 trillion shillings in debt. We are going to find an economy that is not production oriented. Today, Bitok, the cost of production has gone up, that you'll find that it is becoming hard for investors to sustain their investment. And I want to believe that when I heard the day Dr. Ruto was declared the winner by Chebukati, that evening he held an interview with a number of stations. And he talked about SGR and talked about the Naivasha Inland Port. And one of the basic ideas when the Naivasha Inland Port was being conceived was that we want to bring companies closer to the source of energy. You know, it is just adjacent to the geothermal production. I'll tell you, when you buy your token and you look at the billing, you realize that one, you will be charged that amount that goes to the production of that power. That is money that will basically go to KenGen or any other independent power producer. You will be charged money that will probably go to Ketraco for the transmission of that electricity from source to your house. You will be charged the fuel cost. You know, we in Embakasi and other places, we are producing power through diesel and what have you. And fuel cost is one of the biggest charges on your tariff when you buy your token. But if you can move companies to Naivasha Inland Port and allocate them space to produce, and then eliminate fuel cost, eliminate Ketraco in terms of servicing company with power, you will reduce the cost of production. And that means that our products can now become competitive in the international market. Because today, the problem is that our production is not competitive. Today is that you find that if you go to the hardwares, you're going to find Dagote cement that is produced, packed, and brought to this country from Ethiopia. But surprisingly, it is still cheaper than our own production of cement. Why? Because out there, there are people who have made it possible to lower the cost of production. So I think we agree with Odede and anybody else that now the honeymoon must stop and work must begin.
You also feel like we are stuck as a nation in the campaign mode?
I think I agree with Odede again that at what time did we ever move on from campaign? Because one of the things that has characterized the democratic space in this country is that we win and we immediately start campaigning for the next one. And we lose focus of the very reason why we were seeking for those positions we now hold. And I think for me is that you must realize that it sometimes is still hard to believe. I'm trying to pinch myself and remind myself that Dr. William Ruto won and he is now the president. But that is just, of course, it's just like I said, it's like when you get your new bride. You are out to rush for a honeymoon, enjoy a few weeks of fun. But then come to the reality that bills are waiting for you in the house and you have to go back to work because when you are doing the wedding, you are financing it and you need to replenish your savings. And therefore, I think for me, the onus are on His Excellency Dr. William Samoei Ruto and his government to move this country. Because I will tell you, and anybody in this room will tell you, the people who stagnate the nation into a political mood are the very leaders we choose ourselves. But if those leaders choose to move on, this country can move on. Because let me tell you, we don't have the luxury of engaging in the campaign mode of 2027 now. When we have 4 million Kenyans who are facing starvation. We do not have the luxury of getting into a campaign when you are having an economy that is being run on debt. Because if you're doing, we did how many trillions in the last budget?
3 point something. For the budget?
For the budget.
3.7, I think.
3.7. We are in debt of 10 trillion. So without getting into the economic statistics about our debt and our economy, in a layman's language, we are operating on a negative point of view. Because if our entire economy is the rise, our budget is the rise, the debt that we have, then the onus is on us to look at what we... Because I'm telling you, one of the things that I agree with His Excellency, the President, we must do, we must look at what is costing us when we do foreign exchange. What can we do to lower our foreign exchange in terms of, are there things today, he has ever said that we have everything that is required to produce fertilizer in this country. But somehow, somebody sees it better to import fertilizer that is costing more than what we can purchase to have a government-owned fertilizer production company. Those are the economics of scale that somebody decided not to look at. I remember vividly very well when Waitito was the governor of Kiambu. There's a farm that came from, I don't know whether it's Poland, that came to Kiambu. They were looking for land to start doing production of fertilizer in this country. How that went, I don't know. But I know we have the capacity too. Today, Bitok, what does it take to actualize that gas line from TZ to import natural gas other than LPG? But I'll tell you, and I keep saying, how gas was removed from the Energy Regulatory Commission and it is no longer regularized becomes a problem. I'll tell you, I have done my own independent research. Today, a 13 kg cylinder gas, if you go to the source, it will be filled with about 1350 to 1450, depending on where the refill is done. Yeah. But when you go to the retail cost, you will find that gas is costing 2,300 or 2,400. Somebody is making a profit of 700 to 900 shillings profit per 13 kg cylinder gas. That tells you that every time there is a crunch in gas industry, that cost is always pushed to the consumer. At no time has the dealer or the broker ever bared the cost of licensing the cost of gas. The common mwananchi is the one that pays. Why? Because such an important product has been taken off the regulatory services of the energy, and it's part of energy. So I think for me that we must unstuck ourselves from politics. This is not the 2017 or the 2013. The current administration has a lot of work to do because, one, I would suggest personally that we must lower our projects, what do you call it, mega projects. We must now scale down the mega projects in this country. I think, and I keep saying that the Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta has done enough of the mega concrete projects. What we need to do now, Odede, is we must humanize those projects. If you have done a road, which one of the roads done by that administration is the one comes from Southern Bypass and goes to get to Maimahiu. But that road has not brought the true economic value of our place where I come from, because today we need to introduce horticultural farming in Deya where it is a semi-arid area and horticulture can do it. And we will make sense of that project and it will become variable. We increase our tax net and we are able now to roar. Because what this government must do, we must increase our tax net so that we are, because where do we get the money to pay our loans that we have? We pay our loans from the consolidated fund. The consolidated fund is replenished by the taxes that we pay. So government has the honors to expand the tax net. If we have done the road from Isiolo all the way, what economic value is that road bringing to the people of Isiolo? Now, those are the honors this government must do. We did the SGR. We must make sense of all these mega projects that has been done by the previous government. And that is the key. The reason why there was a disconnect between Uhuru administration and the public, they never humanized those projects. That when you do a project, accompany it with another program that puts money on the people's pocket and they will see the value of that program.
Right. So yesterday also at Kenyatta National Hospital, we lost a child. We lost a kid from Kiambu County who had a foko jembe stuck in his head, and for over 24 hours he was not attended to as an emergency. So it lost a child. The hospital has given a statement. It has said that when it comes to such situations, it's important to analyze the risk of whether or not to tamper with the patient. I don't know. What do you guys make of this? I remember there was another time, another gentleman was operated. Alikuwa na shida ya tumbo, alikuwa na shida ya tumbo, akafunguliwa kichwa. I don't know, Dad. What do you make of it? Because I don't know. I look at that child and I don't know what to think. I didn't know what to think as a parent. And as any other person who cares about humanity, I didn't know what to think. I don't know how much explanation that the mother of that child can be given to an extent that he can be satisfied that, yes, these are how things went. I don't know. What do you make of our public hospitals and the obsession for money, that we want money to admit you, want money to attend to you? I mean, at what point do we separate service from resource?
Gerald, and we must say we're very sorry for the family who lost their child. I saw the news and it was really devastating. One thing remains that our hospitals, not just Kenyatta alone, but I think all our hospitals must focus on saving life, and then we discuss money. It doesn't matter after you have saved life. We can take 1,000 years discussing money because there is no money that makes a human being, but human beings can make money. So we have all the times to discuss your money after my life has been saved. Because if I die, there is no amount of money that can bring me back. Right now, even if the whole world congregate there to bring all the monies, we will not be able to get that child back. And the experience we've had, I don't know if in this room there is somebody who has never tried to go to Kenyatta National Hospital. I have been there once, and it can take you a whole 24 hours to get admitted. A whole 24 hours. Including the wing that is clearly written accidents and emergencies. In that emergency is where I was. I think I was, I got a little accident sometimes back. There was a vehicle, ilikuwa imebeba chuma, and I think I was walking along the road somewhere in Kariobangi, and chuma ilikuwa ime overlap. I just had something here, and then I was knocked off. So I was taken. It took all that time, and you were in the emergency wing. So how emergency can emergency be? Unless the KNH wants to discover new emergency, meaning that the public do not know. But I think if the Minister for Health will be appointed and sworn in, this should be a big issue for the lady who is has been mentioned to be the Minister for Health. Because we have devolution, and the health has been devolved, and the national government is remaining with referral hospitals. And this is KNH and Moi Referral and KU, and probably a few like Mathare Mental. I think it should be a place where you can really say that was emergency wing. Because we cannot continue with this kind of discussions into the country where we are looking forward to a bigger and mega project, and we are also looking at, you see, we even have digital economy as part of the ministry now. In the days when the late President Moi ruled, and even a bit of President Kibaki, digital economy and such like things were not even a mention anywhere in the serious tables of government. So when we are talking digital, it means things have really moved, and so we cannot have the same problems my mother had in Kenyatta National Hospital. At the time, I was a young boy or a child being taken there. Then I am also taking my son there, and the same problems are still occurring. I mean, we should have moved, and as a country, we need to now say, even as the other wings move, this Kenyatta National Hospital also needs to move with it. Look at what you're having here. These ones were not there when we were probably in primary schools. You either had a radio station very well known up there, or a television which were only 2 or 3. But now we have this kind of media houses. Why does the wing of health remain behind in the 80s and in the 90s when you could stay on the line kujaza ile kadi? Unakumbuka ile kadi ilikuwa inajazwa ama ilikuwa book? Ile imekatwa hivi. Lazima ukuje nayo. Yeah, na lazima ukuje nayo. So we should not see those kind of books in our hospital anymore, because we have digitized everything. Right now, the government have tried. If you go to the e-citizen, you see every aspect of government service needs to be there. You see the Directorate of Criminal Investigation. You see the NTSA. You see many company registration. Even hospitals no longer need to have such kind. When they digitize, it means you step in if it is emergency. Somebody picks your ID. keys in, and all the details they want to know are there. If you need to be attended to, you go through examination immediately, and the doctor starts his work or her work. Why we keep somebody with that kind of emergency, I don't know. But we will listen to their explanation. We are hoping the explanation will be much better than this. Although I am skeptical, because the explanation around this has everything to do with administrative, not the medical aspect. Because if they were attending to the boy and there were complications, that one we would now say, we are not doctors, and whatever happens, it is only them who can explain. But if the boy died because he was not attended to, that is purely administrative, and you cannot tell us because you are a doctor now you can explain it better than anybody else. That's what I think.
Okay. Kairu.
On the issue of Kenyatta Hospital, the boy came from Thika level 5. Now the question is, and I would go back to what Mushendu was saying, is it really the policy that needs to be looked at? You go to Kenyatta right now, Bitok, and I want to speak not because I work for Kenyatta on behalf of Kenyatta, but most probably the hospital staff were not aware of such a case, because at any given time there are like always 500 cases, emergency cases in Kenyatta. Now, what capacity does Kenyatta National Hospital has to handle those issues? Because sometimes I think maybe we are overstretching Kenyatta. And how many doctors do we have in Kenyatta Hospital and nurses? Because for the few times I've been there, literally there is always to an extent that a nurse or a doctor can work. Now, you go seek admission to Kenyatta Hospital today, you will get it maybe, today is on Wednesday, we get it maybe Friday or Saturday, right? Because we find people from Kajiado, all over Kenya to Kenyatta Hospital. Now, maybe we need now to look and ask ourselves, all these big budgets that go to the Ministry of Health, does it really benefit the people that need the attention? Again, there was sometimes back, Wabora, the governor for Embu, was very proud to say that Embu level 5 had performed, I think, brain surgery or something, right? Now, what has happened that in Thika, and Mushendu can confirm that Thika level 5 serves Muranga, Machakos, Kitui, all those areas. They can't handle such I'm not trying to show, such a little, a small issue. That everybody must be referred to Kenyatta National Hospital. And Odedde was asking, devolution came. What are the counties doing?
About healthcare.
Yes, about healthcare. Because an accident in Thika should have been addressed in Kiambu.
In Kiambu County.
Because they are devolved and there are money there. And I think now again, we have to overhaul our policies from what Mushendu was saying on trade. I come from that area around Thika and Ruiru. Sometimes back Bitok, that was an industrial hub. There were so many industries in Thika and in Ruiru. Right now, they are dead towns because the industry died. Now, the question is, did we stop from being a manufacturing nation to a trading nation? Because instead it is always cheap if I buy something instead of manufacturing. We import, and the question, the same question to ask about SGR. It is okay, we are doing modern ports. It is okay, we are building infrastructure. But as we are living from Mombasa on, I think there are 12 berths and Alamu port, what are we exporting on those ports? Because as it is now,
we are all importing.
We are all importing. Technically, we are benefiting the Chinese or the people who are using the port. Nothing Kenyan is getting out of those ports. Nothing Kenyan is being transported by SGR. And I won't blame Uhuru because 10 years from now, when maybe William is done with his term, there shall also be challenges, national challenges that shall need to be addressed. And 100 years from now, any coming government will have its own unique challenges to address. Currently, it is the economy. Now, the economy is, we are failing because apart from the economy, we have the health issue. The government has been doing a lot of PR on the universal health or something. But technically, you can't feel the health the health bit of it, it is dead. We have a very deformed education system. Our agriculture is dying because at the end of it all, the population is increasing, right? The pieces of lands are decreasing. Now, again, we must ask ourselves, where do we want to go? Where are we headed? Now, about health, which was your main question, we must also ask ourselves, and I really think I support what the president was saying the other day. The law was meant to serve man, not the other way. Now we shall need to sit down, we look at devolution, and we see is health better handled at the national level than the county levels? Because now, as it is, if we continue to share the blame game, that hey, Kenyatta, Thika level 5 or whichever other Thika hospital is saying, we referred this person to Kenyatta for specialized care. They were not given. What are we really doing to despecialize the services from Kenyatta back to mashinani? Because opposite Kenyatta is Nairobi Hospital, right?
Yes.
I can tell you, if the boy had gone to Nairobi Hospital, he would have been attended to, because there is no queues, and there hakuna line in that hospital. But now, this being a public hospital, which is funded, and Bitoka, I know you are well traveled. If you go out there, it is the public hospital or public institutions that have
the best, actually.
Yes, have big machines, etc. And our MPs, the policymakers, usually go to seek treatment in public office or hospitals abroad. Now, what is ailing Kenyatta? Is it the issue to do with doctors? Does it not have enough human resource? Is it administrative? Or is it pure negligence? Because whether that was an issue because it was highlighted on social media. I can tell you there are so many issues, including, let's say, the painful one, Ken Waribora. He died also waiting to be attended to, right? So as a country, we must relook our policies, our laws, and see how we can move forward, because we can't continue really losing life on some very minor issues.
Okay. All right. Muchendu, what do you make of these issues?
Well, I'm been a very big critic of the funding of the Minister of Health, the national government Minister of Health. You realize that health is a devolved function for the county government, save for the level 6 hospitals, which are now the purview of the national government. But what would surprise you, Bitok, that despite devolving health to county governments, if you look at the budgetary allocation of the Ministry of National Government, Ministry of Health, from 2013 to date, it has increased with about 60% funding. You would expect naturally that when you devolve responsibilities of health to the county, the funding of the national government Minister of Health would decrease, owing to the fact that you have to put funds to those things that you devolve. But today it's opposite. We devolved health to counties. We seconded employees of the Ministry of Health to counties, but we withheld the money. So I wanted to answer him. One of the reasons why a hospital like Thika Level 5 may not be in a position to actually be able to deal with some of those things, it is because it is being overburdened with the responsibilities that are naturally supposed to be that of the national government. The Department of Health in Kiambu County is allocated about at most 4 billion. The biggest chunk of that money goes to pay salaries. It goes to do recurrency expenditures in the hospital. But when you look at the number of employees in the Department of Health in Kiambu, in Nairobi and in Kakamega County, because those are some of the counties that are suffering on secondment of employees, you realize that the biggest number of those who work in these health institutions were seconded from national government. But the national government did not delegate the money that was paying them, the money that was giving them their duty allowances, the money that was giving them their benefits. You realize the risk benefits and the risk allowances or those things. The national government withheld those but seconded people. Now, when you have received a seconded employee as a county government, it is your canon responsibility to pay that someone. We have experts BTOC in Kiambu, but they cannot work because we don't have equipment. One of the things that I have had a problem that the Jubilee government did was force county governments to rent out machines that they did not have capacity to use. They did not have spaces to install them. To date, you realize that our budgetary for health, unajua ile tulikuwa tunasema ati unakatia stima kwa kikingi. That is what the national government does, BTOC. Counties were forced to lend out machines. And that lent money is reduced, or it is cut off at the disbursement of exchequer money to the counties. That money is withheld, and they are forced to pay. We are paying millions of shillings in terms of lending out equipment that have not helped the counties in this country. And I'll tell you, one of the problems you have in Kenyatta National Hospital, I don't know whether any one of you has had the privilege of visiting 10th floor of Kenyatta National Hospital. The 10th floor of Kenyatta National Hospital houses the private wing of Kenyatta National Hospital. When you get to the 10th floor, BTOC, you will not think you are in the same hospital. When you get to the 10th floor of Kenyatta National Hospital, you are in a totally different hospital. This Kenyatta is purely a national referral hospital. It should never deal with a walk-in case. That is the essence of it being known as a referral hospital. It must deal with cases that are directly referred from lower hospitals, the level 5s, the level 4, even did level 5. Actually, it is and Zika did well because they referred the kid from a level 5 hospital. In fact, anybody would only be doing politics if they fought Zika level 5 because they never even kept that kid. They immediately attended the first aid and sent them there. And when, Odede, I agree with you, when we are living in a digital space, that when a level 5 is doing a transfer or a referral, that referral should hit the hospital, the Kenyatta National Hospital, before the patient leaves Zika level 5.
Yes.
That responsibility of doing that digitalization is squarely on Kenyatta National Hospital. So that when you're coming, that kid had already had his X-ray done in Zika level 5 to look at the extensive of the damage.
Yes.
That X-ray should have been transferred digitally to Kenyatta National Hospital. Yes. They should have been prepping, waiting for that kid to go immediately to whether if he was swollen, there are those procedures you do to deal with the swollen so that you operate on that kid. So I think for me is that this Kenyatta National Hospital, and I'm calling on His Excellency the President to tell us at what point, because a national referral hospital ought to be fully funded by government.
Yes.
Why do they need a private wing? If it is not for that management that has been there, that has decided that the care that is going to be given without question is that of the 10th floor. Because I've visited friends who have been admitted in the 10th floor of Kenyatta National Hospital. I mean, there is no difference between them and those in Nairobi Hospital and other places. They are receiving very serious care. But just take a rift.
Actually, the same doctors from Nairobi.
The same doctors. Just take a rift.
Teramuka kidogo.
Teremuka hiyo floor iko chini. Hiyo utoke 10th uende 9th. My friend, you realize whether umetoka London, umeingia Kosovo. Because that's the whole thing. I'm telling you, we have lost Mzee.
I think we need a tour.
Let me tell you, we need to do this. We lost Mzee a few months back. There's Mzee from our place, but he lives in Gaton. I tried to talk to the people I know at Kenyatta National Hospital for his admission. They had gotten to the hospital at 2 p.m. By the time they were calling me, it was almost 7 that they have not been given the admission. I tried to make a few calls to the people I know within the hospital. They could not do that. Mzee died on the waiting bay.
Yes.
Yeah, we laid him about 3, and I told Baba Mudhoni, we laid him about 3 months ago at Gatundu. Negligence. Let's not, we are not saying that everybody in Kenyatta National Hospital is not responsible, but I'll tell you, major cases in Kenyatta Hospital happen because of pure negligence, lack of well-planned system of admitting people, and major talk is that this hospital has decided walk-ins are better than referrals. Because let me tell you, there is a likelihood, Bitok, that kid being referred from Thika level 5 comes from a family that's not well up. The reason they ended up in a government hospital. I am telling you, I want to see somebody who has been referred to the private wing of Kenyatta Hospital. They even have a dedicated lift to the 10th floor, which is unfair to the Republic of Kenya because that referral hospital is a public hospital. It is supposed to receive referrals from all level 5 hospitals in the country, and they should be processed without fear, without favor, and it must be seen to balance. And I think what the government needs to do, and His Excellency the President must do, it is either they will scrap that private wing of Kenyatta National Hospital, because most of the doctors that are supposed to do these operations are doing operations from the private wing, because the money they get out of that operation, you know, these are what you call specialists. And if Odede goes there and he is undergoing an operation of $1 million, Bob, they know that 300,000 is going to the the doctor who is operating. So he is likely to give more attention to that private wing than the normal mwananchi who may not necessarily, does not even have an SSF. They will probably be seeking for that bill to be reduced, so they don't give time. So I think one of the major mistakes that we have done, it is to incorporate a private wing in a public hospital being attended by the same doctors who are supposed to attend the public. They will always give priority to where the money is. Sorry to say. So I think it is time for the president. I saw he did a tour of the Nairobi Stock Exchange.
Yes.
I think he must also wake up one morning
And do a tour
of the Kenyatta National Hospital. It is the biggest referral. Okay, it's now the second biggest referral after KU, as they are saying. But it is one, we now have the 2 biggest referral hospitals in East and Central Africa. We must live to the name of Kenyatta National Hospital, that it can help Kenyans. It can meet. I mean, how does it take you 2 days? Somebody with a fracture has come with multiple fractures in the leg. The stake is about to decay. Somebody stays in that hospital for 2-3 days without an admission. It is unfair, it is uncalled, it's unprofessional, it is uncalled for. And something must be done about Kenyatta National Hospital. We cannot be having stories. One of the person who did my literature books, Fasihi books, Ken Warieura Waribora, died because of negligence, and that's a fact. We cannot change it. We have to make sure that the government gets it right. And the new CS for health has the first place he must start. It is the Kenyatta National Hospital. Because whether health is devolved or not, level 6 hospitals are the privy of national government.
Gerald,
Let's listen to this gentleman, Oded, then I get back to you. There's a gentleman from Australia. I want to make some comments on healthcare. That is Joel. Please have your headphones on if you can. Santa. Good morning, Joel. Joel, good morning.
Good to see the governor, and hopefully he's no longer in his party now that his leader is back. So, please allow me to relating to healthcare. This one for me is something really that touches every Kenyan. We normally hear statistics that you are one sickness away from poverty, and it's not just one Kenyan; it's about 80% of Kenyans. You see a lot of Kenyans going to India selling land, and then unaenda unakufa, hata you have no place actually to zikwe, and it's a big problem. So, what do we have in Kenya? I think we have a problem because we never categorize the level of healthcare systems that we have. For example, we normally say clinics, health clinics, and stuff like that. But there's one thing that's lacking: primary care. So in Australia and other developed countries, for example, there's something called GPs, general practitioners. So if I have headache now or OMA, I will just go to general practitioner.
Okay.
Now, that guy will look at me, they refer me to a specialist if it's an issue that needs further examination. What does that do? It reduces the number of people who goes to emergency hospitals like Kenyatta, you see. So it starts by sorting out issues of prevention and sorting out, what requires specialist care and general, practitioners. So number one, the first stop is primary care. People who come to the villages and our towns and our cities teach us on health care. How do we take care of ourselves? How do we eat well? How do we exercise? How do we clean our hands? You see? So those are the things that are needed. If you need actually to heal a nation, you must start by preventing diseases in the first place. It's costly to treat someone than to prevent all these diseases. Now, number two, we are lazy as people, as Kenyans. And at some point, we need to stop blaming the government. Because number one, how many people do you know still practice hand washing that's safe? You see, we have a problem as people. Number two, we wait until it's really, really bad. We are terribly sick for us to go to the hospital. You see? And, and then, you've seen a lot of these videos. People actually who are being rushed to the hospital. The last minute. Hata ukipewa daktari ya kutibu aje, they are not God. They're not going to save you. You must be proactive. Go to hospital whenever you feel unwell. And I think the government has to sort it into three categories: primary care, general care, and specialists. That's how it should start first. And then mwananchi awe proactive. The other thing is, insurance. How many Kenyans? I'm very sure even MUCHENDU, and I'm not really trying to point at people, even you say Bitok, right? You have health insurance, but you've never read the fine print of what that health insurance covers. You see, that's another thing we actually fail. How many people actually go and check the fine print on, say, insurance? The other thing was, so sometimes we are covered on something, but we never actually even go to, say, check health checks every year. I mean, at 40 years, a man, you should be going for prostate cancer check. But we never do that. You see, it's a foreign thing to us. The other thing would be, say, leasing of, equipment by the Jubilee government. You cannot lease. The problem with Kenya, we rush doing things. You're leasing equipment, but you have no specialists. You're leasing equipment, but you have no electricity to run these things. You see, that's the problem with our people. Now, the other thing is, these professional bodies, say nursing, and doctors, they really need to be serious about professional ethics.
Okay.
And so things like mandatory reporting. In Kenya, we don't have social workers. Social workers are supposed to help people who cannot meet certain requirements or health care requirements or the things that they need. We don't have that as a country. So how can you help someone actually if they have no home or they have no food and you've given them medication? That person is going to die. So we have a long way to go. But we must start by taking care of ourselves as a people first. Stop being lazy. And we need to question the doctors, the nurses, whenever we are going to see them. Stop being scared of a doctor. Question them. This medication, I think, is, we are highly medicated country. Unaenda uko na malaria, unapewa the highest medication for malaria. Start low first. Otherwise, the disease is going to be, a little bit resistant in future.
Okay.
I mean, you cannot go to the highest medication before you start from the lowest. What's going to happen when you get the same disease?
Asante.
So I think those are my points, yes. Yeah, I'm sorry for taking a long time.
No, it's fine. Thank you so much, sir. I'll leave me out to Australia and see you tomorrow on Diaspora Edition.
Yeah.
All right, Asante. Abbas Njuguna, you find an X-ray machine in a public hospital dead, but the same machine in a private hospital on the opposite side across the road fully functional. Something is totally not adding up. All right. Rosemary Kabugi, has KNH ever been expanded from the time the colonialists built it? Good question. It was Stan Rono. Jeremy Peter, good show. The tagline running now reads Kagwaini Kairu political scientist. Okay, I think that must have been a typo. Asante. Abbas Njuguna, private hospital should simply be closed. Oh, yeah. Okay. Kevin Joregi, happy Valley yesterday, Thika Road, asante. None Belem so, great panel, Muchendo wako wapi? Muchendo ndio huyu hapa. MESHACK ODEDE, missed you, Jaduong. You promised me a date with Malisafi, Dr. Joe Bonga. We discussed reforms in the education sector. Nangoja tu, during the discourse. Ayo, uko na deni ya watu. Kriare, uko na deni ya watu. Articles now, all the way from the UK. There are thousands of Kenyan medical practitioners abroad who would love to return and set up private medical practices, but the government has made it too expensive. Medical is not cheap. GP, general practitioner's first line of medical cover. Wow, okay. Sanskips, good morning. General, kindly remind KK administration that they made a promise to make all contracts done by government public, including SGR Expressway. As expatriate, I'm keen on this issue. Haya, tunasema nataka kuona contracts finally. Mtama kipata kitu mtatangaza. Muchendo tunataka kuona contracts. Because now the reason medical care is expensive and not accessible in Kenya is because government has a monopoly in it. They tax it and block new entrants into the field because it doesn't want competition. All right. Good morning to you, sir. Good morning, guest. Asante sana. Mr. Yagon, good morning, Bitalk. These guys knew how the economy was during campaigns, but never told us. Oh, okay. Odede, you were saying something.
Yes, Gerald, I think the question should be more of a layman question right now. Looking at the level 5 hospitals that we have in the counties versus level 6, which is referral hospitals we have in the country. The problem must be either the human resource, capacity, or the medical equipment, one of them. But we need to understand what exactly are we dealing with. Because for the level 5 to make referrals, it means either the human resource capacity to deal with this particular thing is not here, or the equipment we have cannot support this. The capacity is there, but we lack the equipments that are needed for this kind. I'm referring to a case like what we are talking about right now. Either Thika level 5 were referring because they lack equipment that are needed to do this, or they were simply referring because they lack the human resource capacity, the technique to do it. So which one exactly is the problem? Because this is the layman's question. If we go too technical, we may not help understand the details. But we now need, even as we look at the Kenyatta National Hospital, we also need to go back to Thika level 5 and find out, why were you referring this? Because you realize doctors train in the same school. So if I'm a doctor at Thika level 5, is the doctor at Kenyatta better than me because he is in Kenyatta? Or the doctor in Kenyatta has something ahead of me in terms of technical skill? We need to find out if we are lacking the technical skill on human resource at the level 5 in the counties. Then the government just needs to equip the level 5 with the technical skill that is in Kenyatta. If we have the technical skill at the level 5, then the government needs to find out, is it the equipment? And then equip these ones, then we will all of a sudden decongest Kenyatta National Hospital and any other referral hospital. And then what Muchendu said is very key. How can we exactly stop the walk-ins completely? However big you are in the country, start from the level 5 and get us referral. So by that, we will have the doctors looking at the situation. I have seen on the digital platform, somebody is being referred from Nakuru level 5 to the National Hospital Kenyatta. What's the situation? What's the condition? The files are already here. So the doctor will know, this one akifika in less than 2 hours, akiwa hajakuwa attended to, it will be dangerous. So hata kama kulikuwa na mwingine mbele, but the one alikuwa mbele, you can say this one can go for another 2 days or a day or 2. We will put this aside and help the one that cannot take other 2 hours, attend to, and then bring the other one, because it is about saving life. So if we digitize the referral system, according to me, then the doctor at the Kenyatta National Hospital will know they are referring someone from Kajiado level 5, but the situation, the files here says this one is emergency, cannot go for another 2 hours. So the one we're already having in front of the line and can go for another 2 days can be skipped for the other one to be helped. This will make our hospital look more organized and more lives will be saved. So we don't just say, because I am here ahead of you, even if you are dying in the line, I was here ahead of you. Let us just save life that way.
I agree with you that service in the hospital should be on emergency cases, on a need base. Let me tell you, one of the other things that happens in this country, and the most silly things I've seen, Odede walks into a level 5 hospital in Nakuru, for instance, Nakuru PGH. You walk there, you have an emergency, somebody is able to do your X-rays, somebody is able to do scans, and then they realize that this case cannot be handled in Nakuru, they refer you to Nairobi, to Kenyatta National Hospital. When you get to the Kenyatta National Hospital, somebody again subjects you to the same tests with a different cost. Then the digitalization, and that is where I agree with Odede, that should happen, that if today you are referred from PGH in Nakuru to Kenyatta National Hospital, somebody is referring to you because he has read your X-ray and he has seen that this is not treatable here. He has probably taken you through a scan, and he has seen your situation needs a specialized attention. That X-ray or that scan should be, I don't know whether it is faxing or what, but it should be relayed immediately to Kenyatta National Hospital that we have referred patient so-and-so, number this and this, and this is the situation we have found, and this is the reason why we have referred them. Even the doctor's note should have been sent to the database of Kenyatta National Hospital so that an expert manning that database can be able to say, if this is a fracturing issue, you send it to the people responsible for fractures for examination, that by the time you are driven by that ambulance from Nakuru to Nairobi for those 2 hours, somebody has already prepped and waiting for that case to come. If you are sent, because let me tell you, for instance, I am certainly sure when that young boy was being referred to Kenyatta National Hospital, The doctor had seen the extent of that focal jembe, and he had the X-ray done, because that is the only way you would know the extent at what it has done. He already undertook the notes of what needed to be done. Can you imagine if that information had been relayed to Kenyatta National Hospital before the boy went there? But I'll tell you, the two things that are stopping Kenyatta from doing that: one, it is that private wing. Number two, it is the walk-ins. That people have now realized that I can get quality treatment at 10th floor at a lower cost than the one I could have paid at Nairobi Hospital or any other hospital. So,
the county hospitals.
Yes, the hospital has made it possible for walk-ins. And I will tell you, Odede, and I invite any Kenyans who are listening to me to go and investigate on your own. You will realize that walk-ins are given better treatment than referrals. And that's a fact. And these are some of the things, Bitok, that must be dealt with. If we are going to deal with, and if what the president has said is going to happen, that is the universal health care. If universal health care is going to be a reality in this country, one of the things that must be dealt with are the referral hospitals. We have a number of them. We have, is it Moi Referral Hospital in
Yes, Moi
Eldoret?
Teaching and Referral
We
Hospital.
have now the Udhaya Level 6 Hospital. We have KU. We have yes, we have quite a number of them. And like for in Western or that region, every region we must look at a level 5 hospital that can be upgraded to a level 6, so that we can make universal health care effective in this country.
Let's listen to Muso. Then when we get back, we get back to Kairu. Good morning to you, Muso.
Morning, how are you?
Salama sana, mambo.
Poa sana. You have my dream panel over there. Hi, Meshach. Hi, Mushendu. Those are my people, yani. Those are the people who come to the tackle, and I feel this is going to be a power debate, and it is essentially that. Straight to the issue of the hospital, Gerald, one thing I want us to note is that from the X-ray we saw, because I talked about it with two doctors yesterday at length, because that story came online when I was in town in my office in Thika, and we were able to talk about it with professionals in that. One is a friend of mine. He's a neurosurgeon, actually. I had asked him if he can find time, he comes to the tackle and talks about it at length, even if it is days from now. And another one is a GP. Okay. Now, what he told me was that the extent that fork Jembe had gone into that young boy's, I mean, that's a little boy, that's a 2-year-old. Yes. It had gone up to a third through his cranium. And that's really severe. That's really severe. Because even from a layperson's perspective, if you look at how far it had gone, it breaks my heart even when I'm talking about it, because it had gone in really, really, really deep. And in fact, he was telling me, it's not that these level 5s are not as equipped. There's also the issue of the humaneness of these doctors. People panic when they see those very extreme kinds of injuries, especially on a pediatric level, because that's a pediatric neurosurgeon that was needed to like respond. And then he was also telling me sometimes in Kenyatta, like pediatric neurosurgeon, like that's a brain surgeon, Wawatoto. It's not somebody, these are people who are sometimes on call. So he was telling me that he was suspecting they had to round up one, hence the 24-hour delay. And it's only that the hospital they cannot admit that on national television or on the media. Because if it were other countries, that child would have gone to ICU immediately, not even HDU. That child would have gone to ICU, stabilize the child, check their vitals every 30 minutes. Like they do the essential stabilization. What they were saying, the electrolytes or the leukocytes or God knows, there was a problem with the clotting of the blood. That is something that can be done outside of the surgery to remove the pamphlet that was lodged in that baby's cranium. But if you look at it, the extent it had gone, it was like really, really, really life-threatening. A young doctor, a person with a short experience will look at it and say, these are gone kids. But a more mature doctor, we've had very extreme surgeries. You remember the children that Sonko adopted? You remember the kind of head injury that baby had?
Yes.
That baby, yeah, remind me the name of that boy. The one that was adopted by Sonko. Alikuwa na bullet
was it Orina or Osina? Something like that. Anyway.
Yes. The baby survived, and he was surrounded by like 5 doctors. They were very senior neurosurgeons, and the response was immediate because of the way Sonko took up the matter. So I must say, sometimes even as people in the fourth estate, in the media, we need to be, when we rally behind some of these issues, when they are pushed forward, they're acted upon faster. He's called Osinya, baby Osinya. That's how he survived, because of the push and the way the issue was highlighted. But even him, if he would have been delayed the way this other small boy was delayed, a cranial injury is life-threatening, Gerald. I think even you and I, who are not doctors, we know that.
Yes.
So really, there is a whole lot of blame when it comes to pushing to the media issues that are very sensitive, like those. Where we are being told that it was circulated on social media before it actually got to mainstream media. So really, it was not covered, because you see, these are people from Kilimambogo, Thika na huku kwa mashinani. But then if you look at other issues that are highlighted very fast on the media, they are taken care of very fast, and there is hope for a child. I must say, it is the 21st century. It is the modern age of medicine. We can be able to solve even very technical issues. But it was sad. Like when you looked at it, even as a layperson, you knew that this baby's life is hanging on a balance. So really, I'm thinking we need to have a few professionals on the show. I will do my best. So if we can have some people to come and talk about, without looking like we are bashing Kenyatta National Hospital, because right now, the hospital is on defense mode.
Yes.
So there's no one who might be willing to talk to us from there. But we know as things cool down, we could get somebody who will explain to us those procedures that Mushendu and MESHACK are talking about, that we decongest a referral hospital and we empower the level 5, that they can be able to do critical care. By the time a patient is taken to now, the referral, they are stabilized enough, their leukocytes and their blood flows are good, and they can be able to go into surgery straight, because a patient who's not stable cannot go into surgery. So that was my take on that. And I called because it was close to me. Like, I could see people running up and about, and people were talking about it in town a lot yesterday when I was there.
Asante sana. Wow. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So you guys, so say hi to my guys and tell MESHACK we still need to do that. To talk to Dr. Bonga, we need to do that issue about the education on the tackle.
Sawa. Thank you so much. Have a good day. Catch you later. All right. Coming to Kairu, 3 things that have been on the lips of people this week. 3 things. I think we are 15 minutes past 9 a.m. We have 15 minutes to go. 5 minutes each. The conversation that has been on Kenya's lips, first of all, the first one that has been running, and even I saw the person spoke into it yesterday, was a GMO debate. The second one was the ministers. People are saying they are lacking in integrity. ESCC, I think they have raised that flag. And lastly, yesterday, the president suggested privatization or auctioning of parastatals. I don't know. What do you make of these 3 issues?
Now, I will start with the GMO. Let me say I'm not an expert on that area, but GMO, the president, way before he was the president, while still a minister for agriculture, he used to address the issue. But as a farmer, I farm at the river. We tell you why I really don't want to comment on GMO issues. There are those seeds that we buy from the shop. It is usually you plant once, and it is done. You can never replant the seeds again. When you do the harvest, which is usually a bumper harvest, when you buy those certified seeds. Now, there is the kienyeji seeds that we usually do. And you can remember from the plains in Rift Valley that whenever you do maize, you'd get the seeds from the maize that you have harvested. Now, the certified seeds, you can't do that. Yeah. The moment you do that, the production goes down and the diseases. So that keeps me worried about GMO. Have we done the necessary studies to allow them or to allow genetically modified foods in our markets? And this is where our research institutes should come in. KARI, KEMRI, all those research things should be advising us on what to do. Because in Naivasha, somewhere in Ukambani, I usually see, and in Joro, I usually see very big tracts of lands that are owned and by KARI. Now, Carol nowadays. Now, the question is, why are they not speaking on it? Why are they not advising us on those issues? Now, to the next issue about the CSS and the PSS and the integrity. you had asked a question about, are we always on campaign mode, or when did we stop? First of all, there is a very thin line between power and politics. For as long as there is power, there is always going to be politics. So when power is at play here, it is distribution of resources. It is sharing of privileges in those offices associated. That is where you get politics. Now, Odede was telling you that just like any political survival, for it to take place, there is usually a plan for the next election. Now, the president and the people who are in power today, his line of career is that he knows that he has another 5 years from 2027, so that to go to retirement. So apart from appointing a professional, in quotes, cabinet, he must also advance his political agenda. Otherwise, if the president just does the normal governance without playing politics, he will be roasted very early in the morning. So he has to balance between politics and politicians and his cabinet. And there has always been a call that we need to return back the MPs as ministers. And it has been pushed by both sides, whether in opposition or in government, that the ministers should come from parliament. So that it should not be lost that a government is founded on a political process. It should not be lost that the government is managed by politicians. So politics will always be there in government. And for that, I think the president did his own calculations. He saw who will push his political agenda, his governance agenda, his administrative agenda, and his politics of the day. Yes, that topic was?
All right, the last one was on... look at it. The last one was on privatization of parastatals.
You see, there is the cardinal role of the government anywhere, and not actually the government, the state. The state is supposed to play critical roles like providing security and protecting the people and the welfare. And that is why now my brother Mochendu, I wanted to collect him a bit when he said that for every government action or wherever government is investing, it should have economic value. And the government role and duty goes beyond economic value to the society. When you do a load, it is not necessarily that there must be an economic value to that load. It is actually a service you are taking to those people. And now, if you are to think that we must add economic value, let's say in projects like roads, probably Marsabit or some very interior parts, we will never do a road because you might actually never have an economic value in that sense. But it is the duty and the responsibility of the government to provide roads to the people in whatever and the most interior parts of the country. Now, that leads us now to the parastatals. The parastatals and the essence of the parastatals was to help and to cushion the public from paying those taxes. And you know, most of these European and developed countries, the government trades on behalf of the people. You will find a government owning a ship line, and the money the profits that the ship companies are making on by especially, let's say, like Greeks, it is plowed back and the taxes reduced in one way or another. You find that probably in Switzerland, there are government-owned banks that the profits realized from those government-run institutions, they come and help the government settle some of their bills. Now, parastatals, that was the essence, and that is what the parastatals are supposed to do. They should try to relieve the taxation of the people by, number one, offering services to the people at a cheaper or a lower price. And then the profits realized should be plowed back to government, hence reducing the taxes. So, but then parastatals have become the milking cow for the corrupt individuals in governments. And for that, some of them, including what we'd call monopolies, are making losses, are collapsing. Number two, And this one is related even to let me, can I call it local borrowing? Parastatal somehow gives stability in investments.
Okay.
Such that Bitok, when you invest in Kenya, because the government is a major player, you're never going to make magnificent losses.
So you support?
Yes. So when let's say they are listed in NSC, the president is trying to stock up confidence of investors in Kenya, and the money, or rather how the economy circulates. Necessarily, it is not that when you invest in Kenya, the money will technically go to Kenya indirectly. It will spur growth in other areas. So I think it is a good move, and I'm saying this as an Azimio follower, that on economic policies and the direction the president seems to be taking, to me seems the right. He has really studied and seen what has been ailing us, and him being part of the government for the long time, he understands that the biggest challenge we have right now, or the most urgent issue that needs to be looked at, it is the economic sphere of our life. And I'm really happy that the government of the day is really trying to moving us from the taxation, and they are broadening their tax base now to other sources of revenue. And it is a good move to privatize the parastatals, only if they are the good intention. Because you remember when Safaricom IPO, how it ended up, marred by corruption. So if it is done on the right way, I think it is a good move.
Results. Okay.
Yes.
Odede, the CS and PS appointments and integrity, issues have been raised on the integrity. Secondly, GMO conversation. And lastly, privatization of parastatals. What do you make of the three?
The CS appointments, I think, from my end, is expected. Of course, you don't expect me to campaign and work with all of you and then appoint other people who I don't know. Yeah, definitely it's not done like that. Never in Kenya and not even in America. So the nomination from my end was largely expected, that the president was going to nominate people he worked with during his campaigns from his inner core, because some of these dockets are actually where government is run. Things like interior, that is basically coordinating the entire government and security and all things like that. So it was expected. The only problem is where we are as a country. This is not a problem of Kenya Kwanza. This is a problem of Kenya as a country. We have a lot of things in our constitution, and when it is put to work, we feel a bit jittery again. We feel a little bit ish, because probably this is the time, Gerald, we will need to look at on one hand, the law says you are innocent until proven guilty. And on one hand, there is Chapter 6, which requires some level of decency somewhere. And we clearly do not know where Chapter 6 ends and your innocence until proven guilty starts. I am being very honest here. So this is not a problem of William Ruto. We have names in that list which section of the country feels like, no, they should have been left a little to clear this issue, and we go in knowing clearly we are okay. And another section of the country feels like, but they are innocent until proven guilty. So I think the country is stuck here. And this would happen even with Raila Odinga, who I support fully. If he was elected the president and he appointed some people, definitely we would find one or two who have some case somewhere. And so I don't know, this thing must be looked at as now not from the angle of Azimio Kenya Kwanza. It is supposed to be looked at as a country. What do we want? Should we work with innocent until proven guilty first, or should we work with chapter 6, where if you are tainted by anything, we leave you aside until you are cleared in the judicial system, and then we can say, now let's go for Gerard because his case is over and he has been proven innocent. That, I think, is the kizungumkuti we have, and to me, it does not look like kizungumkuti ya Kenya Kwanza. I know many people would want to rush fast to say he has appointed people with 1, 2, 3, 4 issues. To me, I don't look at it like that. I look at it like an issue we have in the country. Even my side would have had me in the cabinet, and you realize kumbe somebody has got some issues. Kumbe somebody have got some issues. I'm rushed to the court, and then I am stuck, and I would be pleading innocent until proven guilty. And so that's where my issue with Aisha Jumwas and a few other names goes to. I think we need to discuss as a country and see what do we give priority. Do we start with the innocent until proven guilty and then we go to chapter 6, or do we maintain chapter 6 and move back to this later? So that is on that. On the PS, I have noticed 3/4 of the PSS still wants to work, and I don't know why. Yeah, it seems they all applied. Yeah. No, it seems they have all applied, and almost all of them have been shortlisted, except a few who did not apply. I think notably Akina Kibicho and a few.
As expected.
As expected, of course. But a number of them have applied. So I don't know what is going to happen, because definitely people who are in this seat probably will be qualified, because we are looking for people who can do this job. And this is the job Gerard has been doing.
Why is using the word probably?
It's
because you see, for you to be shortlisted,
let him finish.
Yes.
You must.
No, what I'm saying is, if I am competing with Gerard in who will run this show, and this is the thing he has been doing. So definitely he will be qualified. He will be qualified.
But politically,
so that is one. Then number 2, I think they are Kenyans, of course, and they are allowed to do this. But I'm sure the president is going to be very careful in his choosing. And lastly, I know the political aspect of this will definitely appear. Most of the politicians who went out to run around the country, look for votes, will not lie down and let's to see me standing tall and say I'm now the PS for social protection. It is going to be a little bit of a battle between the political wing who have applied and have been shortlisted vis-a-vis the other guys, because they say, you guys, while we were toiling looking for votes, you are busy serving that government, and now you are here looking forward. It will look awkward to have them as the PSS and leave these guys. So I'm expecting the president to definitely take the route of rewarding his team who they went out with to bring here. And then privatization, I think it is supposed to be a more technical thing. If the study says privatization will give Kenyans more benefit, then why not? I think we need not to be a country who fear trying anything new, or a country who jumps into everything new for the sake of being new. I think what should guide our thoughts is the common mwananchi, the hustler mwenyewe. What is the benefit for the hustler if we privatize? And what is the benefit of the hustler if we do not privatize? That should be the one that takes us either to privatize or not to privatize.
GMO, finally.
Oh, GMO is a very thorny topic right now because there are people who are hungry. And if you tell them there is GMO, but we are stopping you because it is not healthy for one reason or another, you are their enemy. And then they would rather die with stomach full than dying hungry.
That's lonely hungry.
And then on the flip side, it is also true that we need to really check whether it is the only option we have or what are other options. So for me, the debate should be GMO is one of them, but other options are here. So we are choosing what works for us as a country or a continent. But we should not single out and start debating GMO alone. That, to me, makes us lose the point. The point is we want to feed our country. We want to be food secure. But what other options do we have? We have this one, we have this one, and GMO is one of them. So when we are discussing GMO, we don't discuss GMO alone, in isolation. We discuss it against these other ones, and then we see what is working. That's what I would say.
And I think what is interesting is, I think I tried to have a conversation the other day with some Kenyans, and I think we are generally very superstitious.
Yes.
Because if you ask someone why they're refusing GMO, they'll tell you crazy things. Nasikia iko na kansa, Biblia inasema kitu haina mbegu, iko na shida, you're superstitious. But niliona, ulikuwa maliza dakika zako lakini.
Yeah. Before I'm commenting on that, we are also aware that the country we have been, the regulations are always very wanting. That is why I think people are scared. Because if the necessary regulations are not put in place, the risks are too high. If we cannot control and mitigate something as simple as aflatoxin, you remember such a simple issue.
Mercury.
Yes, nama mercury askari. Now you can imagine being subjected to GMO. And also corruption is another thing. Because now GMO will not be taken as a way to provide a solution. It will be somebody who would have seen an opportunity to make money, and traders will now see an opportunity to trade. And that is where the bulk of the issue is at.
Yeah. And I think if you want to know GMO, ukipitia hapo kwa kina Muchendo, if you are coming from Nakuru, where you're turning to take into southern bypass, there are some guys who sell fruits there. I bought some funny fruits the other day. It's not a banana, it's not a passion fruit. It's a mix of banana and passion fruit. Inakaa ndizi lakini ndani ni passion fruit. Maybe GMO imeshafika. What do you explain that? Ndizi lakini ni passion fruit.
That is a brand attack on our people. And we must tell our people to say no to such attacks from Bitok. Because we were just quenching your hunger. And, let me tell you, I think for me that I have, in a few other interviews, dodged the question about GMOs. Because I have to say that I am not an expert in GMO. I cannot even try to interrogate the issues of GMO. But this is what I know. Is that His Excellency, the President, was once the Minister for Agriculture. And as a matter of fact, it is his time when he was the Minister of Agriculture, this GMO debate was so alive then when he was the Minister for Agriculture. If you remember, should be about 10 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, thereabout. And I think he is a doctor, not a decorated one. His area of expertise in plant. And I want to believe that he is very well versed with enough information, because I will tell you, two of the most informed offices in this country is that of the president and that of his deputy, owing to the fact that they receive intelligence and information every other day. And I do not want to speculate the reason why. And again, this lift is not for every product, just to be precise. It's just for maize, white maize, nothing. You remember there was this story. I was born in 1983 myself. And there was this hunger that was had engulfed this country. 1984 was the biggest. I thought
1982 was worst.
Yeah, but 1984 is when this this yellow maize from the US came. In our native language, it was called gadrikari because it was brought by the one from Sarikari, gadrikari. That's what they used to call it. And you remember, if you read history, people started saying this is normally grown. It is food for horses, for those who do horses in America. And it is very disastrous for human beings to consume it. It is not healthy. Well, my mom was feasting on it while breastfeeding me. She has not died. She has not gotten into any health trouble. I am, as you can see, I am very perfectly...
even fat.
So all I'm trying to say, Odede, is that this GMO is a very big
It's wide,
issue that even scientists themselves, those who are expertise on the issue, cannot agree on those issues. So what I know is that the genetically modified food have been with us in this country for a very long time. It's only that we are now openly speaking about it, because look at processed food, processed sugar. We have so many genetically modified fruits that we are eating today.
Grapes.
Yeah, grapes that we are now growing within 3 months. Yes, from Egypt and where we already have genetically modified food in this country. It's only that this thing it was banned 10 years ago, but illegally we have been doing this. Look at the avocados we are exporting. They are saying that they are tissue cultured. That is, you genetically modify organisms so that you can get better yield and quick harvest. These are things, when you hear tissue cultured bananas, these are genetics. You are just actually dealing with modifying of genetics and organisms and what have you. So I think for me is that this is a very wide issue. It is something and a conversation that Kenyans must involve. Today I am joining a lot of spaces on Twitter to learn more about GMOs and what are the effects, where we get to listen to scientists. And today you join this space and they are saying it is bad. Tomorrow you join another space, they are saying how it is safe. I mean, this is an issue government needs to get a better. I have seen the Catholic Church, I think yesterday or the day before yesterday, saying they will also institute an investigations into the GMOs to see whether they have an adverse effect on the human beings. So I think for me, the onus is on government to bring the correct position on GMOs. And is it a health hazard to this country? Is it beneficial to this country? But I think this is not one of, Kenyans are experts in so many things. They were experts, I think they were experts before.
Committee of experts.
Walitoka kwa counting of votes.
Walitoka kwanza vaccine.
Walitoka kwa vaccine. Wakakuja sijui wapi. I think GMO is not one of the field Kenyans should attempt to become experts on. We leave that issue to the the professionals and the experts. So for me, the issue of GMO, I will just comment that it is the onus of the government to give a clear guidance on what GMO, because it is a subject that is now eliciting a lot of feelings among so many Kenyans. Some supporting it, some against it. And I think it is a conversation we should engage in as a nation and see whether this is it. But let Kenyans know that GMOs have been with us for this long. It is the reason why the rate of effect of cancer has gone up. It is because of our eating habits. They have caused us quite a number of what you call lifestyle diseases. It is because we have modified so many organisms that they are having an adverse effect in our bodies. So we must ask ourselves, at what level do we go when it comes to genetically modified organisms? So I think for me, that's what I will comment. Once again, I say that I am not an expert in GMO. When you come to the issue of cabinet, I think for me, the EACC has lost the authority to question any of the president's nominee. is this not the same EACC that has not told us who was stealing 2 billion every day? And this is a confession. This is a confession from the head of state in a public institution. Actually, it was the State of the Nation address in Parliament. And you know, Parliament, like High Court, is a house of records. So it is on record that His Excellency, the former immediate President Uhuru Kenyatta, confirmed to the Republic that Kenya 2 billion shillings is being stolen every day. This EACC cannot point out who has stolen that money. This EACC cannot bring any successful cases other than the one that has put Waruke and Naito Wakungu, given them a joint, I think, around 120-something years in jail. And I think for me, Odede, one of the biggest gains we can gain as Africa, it is declaring corruption as a capital crime in this republic. And that is what EACC should concern themselves about. I'll give you, in a country like Germany, corruption is a capital crime. There is this guy who used to be he was the captain of the Germany football team, Frank Beckenbauer. He then became the chairman of the biggest club in Germany called the Bayern Munich. Eventually became the president of the Germany Football Federation. But because of corruption, he is serving, is it lifetime imprisonment? I think so. If it's not lifetime, quite a hefty number of years that he was trapped with, and he is in jail. Today, just corruption has gotten Nani, is it Zambo Mbeki, in prison. In this country, Bitok, you wait for the term of that government to end, and you start enjoying the riches of your stealing, and nobody is asking you, where did you get the money? Today, 2 billion shillings every day, and the EACC cannot even produce, leave around the 2 billion shillings that the president was talking about. The KEMSA thieves are walking scot-free all over. This EACC has not been able to bring yet. We were promised. I think the day the president gave that commitment, we were in this show. That morning, if you remember, that in 21 days, all the KEMSA thieves will be brought to book. Now, it is just the responsibility of the president to investigate. It is the responsibility of EACC. Then, this EACC is using a very, very word that casts a lot of doubt in what they are saying. They are saying some of the peaks may. Today, if I want to accuse Odede or Kairu or Bitok of being corrupt, the onus is on me to have damning evidence showing that for a fact, Bitok is a corrupt person. You cannot judge nominees on the balance of probability. You can't. As the body that has been given the responsibility to prosecute corrupt people, you should be telling us if it is Moses Kuria, if it is, what do you call the guy from Meru, if it is Mithika Rinturi, if it is somebody like Jogona Ndongo, or if it is somebody else who is in that cabinet nominee and is corrupt, we have this evidence and we are taking him to court. But you cannot come and start accusing people of corruption based on balance of probability. It is either you have the facts or you don't. It is that simple. And therefore, the EACC should desist from what is called the pedestrian approach on matters corruption, because accusing the CEC nominees of being corrupt without evidence, that is being pedestrian of EACC. And they must act like a body that has been entrusted to deal with corruption issues. But if they do this, it is also casting doubts on our mind whether they have the capacity to actually investigate and successfully prosecute corruption in this country.
The 16 minutes past time. Very quick.
I was seeking clarification from Moshendu here. EACC deals with ethics. And let's say the whole panel can contribute. Where does ethics start and integrity? How do you determine ethics and integrity? Because that's what ICC deals with. How do they gauge that?
You see, what does EACC stand for?
Ethics.
Ethics.
And
Let's get it from
ethics and anti-corruption.
It's anti-corruption, because corruption and ethics, let me tell you,
If you are corrupt,
failure to uphold ethics is the opposite of it is corruption. That is why they have been put together. And majorly, when you look at the bylaws that govern EACC, one of its major look at things is corruption. And when you look at them, you cannot accuse people of lacking ethics if you can't prove it. Because the reason why ethics is part of what EACC is looking in, it is because EACC has been given the prosecutorial powers. Because what EACC does be talk, if they find Odede corrupt and they have damning evidence, they are supposed to hand over that evidence to the public prosecution, not to investigate. It is to go and prosecute. And I will tell you one of these things. And I say, corruption, for us as a country to deal with corruption, one, we must deal with corruption and be seen to deal with it. And I'd say this, if you say that you are accusing people of lacking ethics as part of those nominees, the Nani Odede, I'll tell you one of the reasons why, as much as I am a biggest critic of, what is the commission, this commission that was being led by Orekaparo?
the NCCI.
The NCIC. As much as I have issues with that commission, Odede, those guys were always bold enough to say, we are censuring Odede, we talk, Nani, they have been shouting unprintable words. They are bold enough to tell us we are narrowing to the specific individuals. When a EACC, a whole body in this country, comes and does a presser saying that some of the nominees may be, you are casting aspersions on the entire cabinet nominee because you have not gone down to the specific people. We are not saying that all those people who have been nominated by His Excellency the President William Ruto are Ejos Odede, but if you accuse some of having corruption and ethic issues, you should be bold enough as a commission to narrow down to specific individuals so that we can know these are the people you are accusing. That cabinet nomination has 22 great Kenyans being nominated. How are we going to separate the people you accuse from those who are coming to serve the public, if at all what you are saying is true? Have be bold enough, and in fact, have the balls to name the individuals that you think have ethic issues in the cabinet nomination of His Excellency the President.
Yes.
Like I said earlier, that issue begins where I said we need to make a decision as a country. Is it chapter 6 or innocent until proven guilty? Because even in parliament, we have people who have been elected and deemed to have issues. So how do we, again, lock the ones who have been nominated to go to the cabinet? When the so-called the people who are going to vet them in themselves have got cases in court and they are clinging on innocent until proven guilty. Even Weluke is going to appeal and go back to parliament and vet Aisha Jumwa. So how do we? So you're getting me. I hope you're getting me. This has nothing to do with Kenya Kwanza and Azimio. This has to do with Kenyans deciding what do we want. Because members of parliament, Babu Owino, for example, had got his case around DJ and all that. He has been elected in parliament. So we need not to look at the few 22 and say these ones are corrupt here or there. And we are not advocating for corruption either. We are simply saying, as a country, let's agree on one route to go. Like the rules of football. If we agree that anybody who touches the ball with his hands and is not a goalkeeper, it is handball. So it does not matter. Or we decide to say, this one we are going to play without rules. You can touch with your hands, you can hit you anywhere, and it is okay.
the way you are saying, the people that have been fingered were seeking public office through the elections. Now, assume they were elected.
Yes.
And they would have held the same position as those as CSS. Would we be talking the same about them if they were elected?
And for clarification's sake, finger is being pointed.
Yes.
So that's why that's why I said let's leave the nominees alone. Come back and have a conversation as a country and agree that how do we want to go about this?
I think, and you know what Dede?
Yeah.
Let me tell you. No. I need to tell this. I need to tell the EACC to shut the hell up. Because I will tell you, Moses Kuria was cleared to vie for Kiambu governor.
Yes.
Milika Rinturu was cleared to vie for Meru governor. Aisha Juma was cleared to vie for the Kilifi governor. Who else ran in that?
And others. Yes.
These people
actually Weluke was clear.
Yes, those many years was cleared and he actually won.
He is a member of parliament
as we speak. This EACC was shutting the hell up then. They can as well shut their mouth now. They have no moral authority to question any cabinet nominee, especially because I can bet to you, the people they are looking at are the people who are in active politics. And yet they cleared them. Now, they want to shout that some of them may. That is pedestrian. If you have evidence, bring it.
Just a quick one. Do you think it is justice for people like Sonko? Do you think justice was done to him given the circumstances that we have around? And again, Muchendu, you will realize the law is again not very clear.
Yes.
When can he ever come back to vie? Because it's like, where you are impeached.
You've been condemned for
and then you are impeached, but in court you have not been found guilty with anything. You are walking out free. So as Nairobians, your governor was impeached by the county assembly and senate, but he is walking out free. Among the impeachment issues were that you embezzled the funds and you are walking out free. How?
I mean, I'll give you an example.
We need to have a conversation.
Enough of the examples.
Thank you,
Yes.
The Honorable Waitito was impeached based on the fact that he embezzled some 500 and something million.
Yes.
And he was told not to step to the office of the governor. Subsequently, Nyoro became the acting governor. Waitito was then impeached in parliament based on that case that was in court. He was removed as a governor and Nyoro was put to be the governor for the next 2.5 years. Recently, the court dropped the case for the lack of evidence. Now, you ask yourself, put yourself in the shoes of Waitito. I was removed as a governor based on a case now that the prosecution cannot prove in court. These are the shenanigans that we are saying.
And he cannot become governor.
EACC must stop, because if you know Dede has stolen, please get enough damning evidence before taking him to the...
Thank you. You're done. Thank you, gentlemen. It's been a pleasure.
I think we need to learn from countries like the US.
Yes.
The FBI will follow you, Gerald, even if it is taking 20 years. But the day they will take you to court,
you won't survive.
Yourself, you will accept that I am guilty. I am guilty. They will not rush to catch you, to take you to court, and then later on ask the court to give them time to dig for the evidence. They will follow you, even if you are a drug lord, for example. They will even plant the intelligence in your team, who will give them concrete and
very patient
evidence, and they are patient. So I think we need to learn from that. If a governor is deemed to be corrupt, let's plant even in the county employees, let's plant even intelligence to give us credible evidence, tangible, that the day we are taking you to court, before we go to court, we are telling you, Honorable Governor, this is the evidence we have for you. So do you want us to go to court, or you are resigning? And then we will solve these issues. Some of them will have opt for resigning.
Yes. Right. I don't know. I think our judicial system, guys, or our investigative arms, I think they are very good in biology. If you remember the capture, release, and recapture method, We capture you first, then we try to find out why. Then we capture you again.
You talk, you're forgetting Shika Fridays.
But Gerald, it has not changed. Because as we speak, now the DPP has dropped the case against Aishas and people like that, and the case against Kimunyas are coming back. Now nothing has changed.
It's been a pleasure having you, gentlemen. Thank you so much for coming up. It's always a pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for showing up. Thank you, Odede. Thank you, Kairu. Asante Muchendu. And every tackler who has been on this morning, thank you so much for tuning in and for being a part of us. See you again tomorrow on the Diaspora Edition led by Joel Arama. If you're in the Diaspora, please make sure that you can tune in tomorrow on the Diaspora Edition and have a conversation on the issues that matter to you within and without. Until then, take care and bye-bye. Before I go home, okay. It's clear that if you can see this, then clearly your next client can see it. If you can see us this morning, if you can listen to us, then clearly your next client can listen and can also see us. If you want to advertise, please advertise on the show. Call the number on the screen, then we can have a conversation. We're also giving you an opportunity to wear the biggest brand in town, to tackle. Get your hoodie at only 2,500 Kenyan shillings, and you get to carry around the biggest brand in town. When you do that, you're not only wearing the biggest brand, but you also help us become better. And those guys who still want to do content, we're still reminding you that we're giving you a chance to do the test drive of content. And after you're done with your test, then you can see what happens. Call the number on the screen, book your appointment with Steve O. Alafu basi, takutana hapa tuone mambo ni vipi. In the afternoon as well, we have the Ez show from 1 p.m. We're having the Ez show from 1 p.m. We'll be having a guy called Wambili Yanga. So wait then and get to listen what he has to tell you. That's it. That's the best that you get from here as we move forward and see how well we can build the digital community. Until then, bye-bye and take care. See you.
This is The Sports with me, SDL Yamur.
Number one, I will not wait. If I'm meeting with you, I will ask you what time we meet. You will say 3. I will be there at 2:45. At 3, I will leave. Maneno kwisha. And you don't call me at 5 to 3 and tell me I'm running late. And I will not call you at where are you? No. At 3, you're not there. You're the one who picked the time. No. I will leave. And I've done that many times. Many times. Come, watch, learn, subscribe, and be entertained and educated as well.